to Worth the War. My name is Kimmy. The purpose of this channel is to help prepare and spare hearts. Thank you for joining us today as we talk about how to prepare your preteen or your teen for healthy love and relationship. I don't think it'll surprise you at all that we could spend hours talking about how to prepare preteens and teens for healthy love and relationship. But what we're going to do is take a very pragmatic approach and divide it into two shorter videos. This first one's going to be about 3 elements of themselves and how they can control them and know them so that they can enter into healthy love and relationship, understanding the way they're wired and the way they're built. The second one's going to be more about lessons and ways that we can guide them so that they can actually be protected along the path and they can find ways to do love and relationship that may be a little counterintuitive, but they will help them to be successful. So let's dig right into part 1. If you've watched any of our other videos here at Worth the War, you've probably heard me use the analogy that we spend more time teaching our kids to drive than we do how to love. There's a reason why that strikes me as so completely crazy. It's because we really think about their grades, their sports, their friend group, the kind of things that they're going to do to get into college or get scholarships. But the one relationship, that primary intimate relationship that they end up with, is really going to color every other aspect of their life. So shouldn't we spend a whole lot more time thinking about how to help them ground that in a healthy way? We all know that if you end up in an intimate partner relationship that is abusive or is toxic, that it affects every other part of your life. I think it's really kind of sad that it's revolutionary or super unusual to help our kids navigate the waters of love and relationship. It's almost like we have a shutoff that we just think that that's one area that as parents we're supposed to let our kids figure it out for themselves, figure it out from social media or peer groups or other sources. If we look at how important love and relationship are and how they underpin most every other relationship and thing that goes on in our lives, shouldn't we have some practical and actionable ways that we can help our preteens and our teens navigate these increasingly volatile waters? We're going to make a very short and sweet video that's really going to hit the high points of some things that we can put into the hands of our kids and into the hearts of our kids that will help them make better choices from day one. I'm just going to keep going with this analogy, this idea that we should be spending as much or more time teaching our kids how to love healthy as we do how to drive. And I'm going to do that by using the same method that we would use to teach somebody how to drive, how to love. The first step of a person learning how to drive is to understand the equipment. It's to understand how to turn the turn signal on, lights on and off, all of the different parts about a car. You need to know where your hazard lights are in case you get into trouble. Well, we don't do any of that when it comes to kids understanding how they should approach healthy love and relationship. Essentially, they are the equipment, and if they don't understand how that operates, especially in this arena, then they're setting themselves up for some pretty dangerous things down the road. The first piece of equipment that every child needs to understand before they can enter into healthy love and relationship is the way their own head works. What is it that matters to them? How do they logically approach relationships, love, physical relationship? They need to actually have in their head what they're hoping for, what they're shooting for, so that they can actually build and make steps toward that. Often we focus most of our efforts in love on our emotional approach to it. But if we can actually underlie that with a very logical approach to what we're looking for and how we want to achieve it, we're actually setting our kids up to make decisions that they're going to be happy with for longer. It is always really helpful to get into the hands of your children a solid understanding of what they believe about love. We may have all the beliefs that we want, but if they haven't really thought out what they think love is supposed to look like and what it's supposed to live like, it's not going to do them any good. So have them take some time to really tear that apart and look at what do they think love is supposed to be. There are some beliefs about love that we're being pushed in the culture today that are actually harmful. So we want to make sure that they root love in things that won't leave them broken. The second area that we would do huge favors for our kids if we gave them a thorough owner's manual of is this idea of the heart. We use the word heart to talk about how we emotionally approach our love and relationship and the experiences of our life. But that's different than allowing emotions to be an addition. Often what we do is we allow emotions to derail our life over and over again. Encourage your children to look for other people who understand that we can have feelings about things and not act on them, and we can have actions about things that we don't feel. And if they can kind of understand that this whole area of our life, really the heart should be what attaches to someone else and chooses to pour out to them. It shouldn't be based on how we feel that day or what's happened in that moment. One of the most valuable lessons that we can put into the hands of our children about how our heart responds to love and relationship is that it takes time for it to filter out. You have to give it time for what is good and healthy to kind of filter out from what is purely emotional or fantasy. It's interesting that we are often quick to tell our kids not to follow the attraction part of the relationship and not know that it may not be a permanent thing, but we don't really spend as much time explaining the same thing exists in this emotional or feeling part of the relationship. There's a chemical rush, a hormone high joy that comes with the same kind of feelings that they have when it comes to the physical part. So prepare your kids that they really need to be able to let these things filter out so they can make decisions they're going to be happy with for the long term. The third thing that you have to really make sure that you drive home with your kids so they can get used to the idea of actually looking at love as something that unfolds, that they get to craft, is the ability for them to understand how their body operates when it comes to attraction and sexual desire. If you give your children the ability to understand and be able to control their bodies when it comes to love and relationship, you will give them an invaluable gift. If they understand how to respond to the way that they feel in a way that is healthy, if they understand that it's the long-term aspects of a relationship that actually will make them happy, they will be able to see that you can in a short term manipulate somebody's body, but the most intimate organ they have is definitely their mind. That is where they are going to be able to commit to a relationship and actually be able to sustain it. So if they can learn the difference between the way their body is responding to something and the way that they actually feel good about in their own mind and their body, they'll be able to avoid some relationships that will probably bring them nothing but misery in the long run. These are the 3 pieces of equipment that are involved in us having healthy love and relationship. And if you can get how they operate, how they work together, how they balance into the hands of your children so they can think about them and start to unfold them as they grow, they will be light years ahead of their peers. And I don't say that because that's a happy thing. We would want every child to understand these things. But in reality, most kids are basing their entire future of love and relationship on the kind of emotional love that comes and goes with feelings, or is just kind of what can you get out of it mentality. That's what they're faced with in their peer group, and that's what they're seeing in social media. We can get into their hands a different view of love that will actually protect them and help them avoid toxic and abusive relationships, as well as find other people who are willing to build something that can last the test of time. So here in part 1, what we've basically done is say, let's look at our kids and sit down with them and explain to them. They have 3 major pieces of equipment, the mind, the heart, and the body, that are all involved in healthy love and relationship. And if any one of them goes haywire, if any one of them goes completely out of balance, there's a real good chance they're going to derail things in a not great way. The next thing that we're going to do in part 2 is really talk about some things that we as parents and as adults in kids' lives can just speak some wisdom into their lives that will help them think about both through what they see and what they know, so that they can make decisions and never feel like love is something that controls them, but rather it's a choice they get to make, and it's something they can actually enjoy along the process as they learn. So I look forward to seeing you in part 2. Worth the War is all about taking some of the wisdom that we've gained from the survivor community and imparting it upon parents and teachers and other adults so that we can help kids love and stay in one piece as they navigate the waters of love and relationship. I really hope something from this video will be helpful for you as you raise a preteen and teen to find healthy love and relationship. We thank you for taking the time to be here. I hope that you'll join our community. We intend on raising our voice to create a change in the way that we approach love and relationship, and we would love to have you join us. Thanks for being here. I know there's a lot of other places you could be.